If you work in my research group much, there's a high likelihood that you're going to use the Olympus TG cameras. I've got a range of TG4s and TG6s, and I find these cameras to be the kind of ultimate tool for an ecologist. They're absolutely amazing because they allow you to take photos in the field and video. Importantly, they have GPS. They can add photos. You can add voice notes to your photos. It's got a fantastic macro lens, which for botanists is fantastic. So you can really zoom in and get some absolutely outstanding macros. And then you can also do some fun scenes like doing time-lapse photography, say for example while you're conducting your experiments. So ultimately this is what I kind of feel that you need to take into the field with you every time you go. And the other nice thing about it is that it is waterproof. You are meant to be able to take it under the water. However, you need to really know what you're doing because there are these seals that you have to make sure are absolutely clean. And if there's a little bit of dust in there, you can get water in here. So I would strongly urge you not to ever take my cameras or these cameras into the water, just because they can get stuffed up by the water. However, it does mean that if you're caught out in a thunderstorm, that you don't have to worry about the camera because it should be waterproof. I'm going to talk you through a few of the features of the camera that you just need to be aware of. Okay, if you need to change the battery or get into the SD card, you go to the bottom of the camera. You've got to pop up the first lock, open the second lock, and there you go. You can pop out the battery, and the SD card fits in there. So putting the SD card in, you just need to, with the teeth facing towards the screen, you can pop it in. And then if you need to get it out, you can just push it down again and it'll pop out. So then I'm pushing it back in, and then we seal it up, pop it across that way. There we go. Okay, turning it on. You always want to, if you're taking landscape shots, I just always leave it in auto. If you want to take microscope shots close up, then you can shift it and put it onto the microscope. If you want to take photos of anything, then I'm on scenery, I need to be on that green. Half until you see that green, and you hear it click, and then you can take your photographs. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, the benefit of this camera is that it can take a GPS position with the photo. Don't be fooled. On the top here, there's this off and log. You're turning that on and turning that off. By turning this on to log, what you actually do is you're setting on a pathway analysis. So as you walk around with the GPS, it'll log your GPS point, but it won't necessarily record the GPS point of the camera. I dislike this feature intensely because you can readily leave this little tab in log and then just chows through your battery continuously. So it's nice if you're doing a short path and you want to be able to mark off that path, you put it onto log, and you need to remember to put it onto off. But sometimes you'll knock this little tab by mistake and it goes into log, and then all of a sudden you turn on your camera and there's no battery left. And it's because it's shifted onto log. I barely ever use this feature. It has to be under very specific situations. I almost always leave it on off. So if you want to make sure that you are recording a GPS point with your images, with your photos, you need to switch that on. You do that by pressing menu, and we've got to scroll down all the way to this detailed camera options, and we need to go down to F if I remember correctly. No, G. We go through to G and record GPS location. You see that's off at the moment. We've got to turn that on. And there are two things that you can do here. You can set it for GPS accuracy or for battery power. If you're spending a long day in the field, you're a bit concerned about battery, maybe switch to battery power. I usually try and use try and have it as accurate as possible. And then I click the menu button to get all the way back to this view screen. Oh, went too far. The menu button. And so now you see there's a satellite image that's flashing in the corner here. So I'm inside at the moment, so it's not going to be able to track the satellites. And so it's not going to be able to get a lock. So it's going to carry on flashing. When it goes solid and remains there, it will then mean that it's indicated that it's got a satellite lock. There is a very handy function that comes with these Olympus TG cameras, is that you can connect them through to your computer using that same cable, the micro USB. You connect it to the cable, to the computer, and there's some Olympus software called AGPS for Assisted GPS, and you can download the satellite tables for about the next 2 to 3 weeks. And what that means is that when you turn on the camera and it's looking for a satellite, that it uses the time to figure out exactly where satellite should be in the sky, and then it locks on much faster. Oh, come back here. And so it's useful before each of your field trips to go and update that the GPS satellite tables. And when you are indoors and maybe reviewing your images, you don't want that satellite on because it'll just be chowing through your battery. So let's just go switch it off, back to menu, record GPS location, switch off, and go back. And you can now see that there is no satellite there. You really need to get really good at always just checking that satellite, firstly that it's gone solid, or that it's even present, because if you go take a whole bunch of photos now, it's not going to be recording your GPS, your locality information along with the images. So that's one of the crucial things that you need to get used to looking out for. The other point to note is that many cameras used to get a kind of a charging dock or a charging station for the battery. The Olympus doesn't have that. So what it's got is this this plug-in that goes to this micro USB, and you need to charge the batteries in camera, which is quite frustrating. So you've got to pop that open and then open this, and you've got to put this, let's just make sure I'm getting that right, forcing it in the wrong way. And you can you plug it in. The light there will eventually turn orange. It usually takes about 20 seconds before it turns orange, and then you know it's charging. One of the beneficial things that that you find in the TG6s is that you can actually, if you're running low in the field and you've got a battery bank, so maybe for charging your cell phone, you can plug this into a battery bank, plug this in, and you can carry on. It'll start charging the camera, but also above and beyond that, you can start using the camera. You can turn it on and carry on using the camera. Just note that with this open now, it's really lost all of its waterproofing. So don't do this if you're anywhere near water or it's about to rain, because if it does get water in there, there's going to be a big problem. I'm just going to close that up. You first pop this like this, then close the lock. So you'll see that the satellite's still flashing. That's because I'm indoors and it doesn't have a satellite lock. One of the other benefits of this camera, which I really like, is that you can take a photo. In fact, let's take a different photo. There we go. And then you can go into the play menu, and if you press OK, and go down to this microphone, you can record a voice note that is attached to this image. So here I am busy recording a voice note. I can press OK, and then I can listen to it again. Record a voice note that is attached to this image. So here I am busy recording a voice note. And so if you're taking photos and you want to describe what it is you're seeing, or why, give reasons for why you're taking that photograph, then you can take the photo, add the voice note, and then when you download the images, the voice note will have the same file name as the photo. So that's a really, really nice feature. If you're indoors and you want to just be reviewing your photos, then I suggest that you switch off the satellite. So you just switch that off and press menu to go back to this, and you see there's no flashing satellite there, and that'll just conserve battery for a bit longer. But you really need to get into the habit of looking for that satellite image, because if it's not there, you need to remember to turn it on, and if it's not solid, then you need to remember to wait for it to lock on. It's also very useful to be able to record in field, and this camera's got a very quick way of recording. There's just this button here. Press that button and it'll start recording. Two things is that it picks up wind noise very readily, so the sound quality is never great. And also the image stabilization on the video is really, really bad. If you are used to using your cell phone to record videos, or something like a GoPro, there's a lot more stabilization that goes into the software, and actually produces a much smoother video. So if you're recording a video with the TG6, you need to go really slowly, pan super slowly. So while you're panning, if you think you're going too slow, go even slower. Really move slowly across landscapes. If you're walking and you're wanting to record experiments, walk really slowly and rather take your time to move the camera up and down very slowly, because even this is probably a little bit too slow, too fast. And my suggestion is, if you're going to be recording quite a lot with this, firstly, if it's for any kind of if it's for any purposes like showing on lectures and whatnot, maybe don't use this. It's the recording is very kind of rough and ready. Although it records at a very high resolution, it only records very well if it's on a tripod. And so just be aware that if you're using it in the field and you're walking around with it, to please really you've got to just move very, very, very slowly with it. One of the last features I want to show you about the TG cameras is the time-lapse photography that you can do with them. What's nice is that the TG4s only allowed you to take 99 photos, and then the TG6s now allow you to take an unlimited number of photos. You can set up time-lapse to run for a very, very long time by plugging in a battery bank in here so that it doesn't run out of power. That's usually what is the issue when you're running the time-lapse. So if you want to do any time-lapse photography, you've got to shift onto these custom modes. So there's either custom 1 or custom 2. So those are prearranged or custom modes. Got to go into the menu. I'm on custom mode 1 there, and we want interval shooting. Put interval shooting on, and we don't want a date stamp. You see it, press on, and you've got to click across, and then the number of frames that you want. Okay, so the max here is 999. Looks like the max is 299, so they've actually upped it. It's not unlimited as to what I thought. if you want it to wait a while before it starts taking, the interval length, how often you want this to take. I rather like every 30 seconds. If I, for example, I'm taking an experimental setup, 15 and 30 seconds. You can either make a movie afterwards. I find that that's a waste of battery power and processing power on the camera. It can chew up a lot of battery. I'd rather do that on the computer side. And yeah, there we go. And we just click menu and we carry on going back. To show that again, we're on custom, go to menu, go to time-lapse shooting, turn it on, and we're going to go to menu and go back to the screen. Then I click the button there, and you can see that it's now doing a countdown. And every 30 seconds it's going to take another image. 298, and it's waiting along. You can press, if you want to cancel it, you can press menu. An important thing to realize is that you can only gear up or set up one time lapse, and then if you want to do it again, you need to go through the same process, press menu, press interval, turn it on, and let's actually reduce this to something that we can see in effective, so we don't have to wait so long. Let's put it down to maybe 3 seconds. Press OK, menu, all the way back, and we then press OK. That didn't load. Was it not? It wasn't loaded on. So there we go. There, you can see it's now on because it's geared up there at the top. So we start, and then every 3 seconds it should take another photo. There we go. And then when you're back at your computer, you can stitch all those photos together into a fairly nice time-lapse video. They're rather fun and are great for presentations so that people can see what it is you did in the field, especially when you're setting up an experiment. That is in case if you're not using the Olympus to make notes in the field at the same time. Okay, you can also, just if you didn't pick up on it, you can zoom in and out. It does have some zooming capabilities, and there are a lot of other functionalities that you can have. But between the auto, the microscope, being able to take the time lapse, where you then have to go and set that through menu, being able to add a voice note, to press OK, and then there's that option to add a voice note or re-record a voice note. Those are all the major functionalities that I use this for, plus the video. And so there are a lot of other things that you can investigate, and I strongly encourage that you read the manuals and read up about it. But after listening to this video, you should know the basics of being able to take this camera into the field and make some great ecological field notes.